Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. Um, and for those that don't know, we speak to people, influential people in the market, whether that be from lending, broking, packaging, as it is today, just to talk about kind of what they do in the market, any useful insights we can get to kind of to brokers and lenders alike. So today I've got Andrew from Brightstar. Thanks for joining me, Andrew.
Hi Marcus, how are you?
Well, yeah, really good. We just went through how I pronounce your last name and what your title was, and I didn't say either of them. Uh, Andrew Cappaert, and he's a group head of national accounts, isn't it? Is the
Yeah.
is the long version.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what you do. Talk to me about. I mean, we'll obviously go into kind of the packaging side of things and that kind of thing. It'll be interesting to do a bit of myth busting on your side. But talk to me about what you do at Brightstar as a group and you personally as the head of accounts.
So ultimately, my role is, talking to brokers and intermediaries day to day, really to explain the benefits of working alongside a packager, master broker, specialist distributor, however you want to call it, really. Now, I work across the group at Brightstar, which is, most of the people know Brightstar Financial. We deal 85% of our stuff is with intermediaries. But we also have Serious Finance who are based up in London. And also in the last, I suppose, 18 months, Solstar Insurance, who deal with specialist property insurance. So it's
Yeah.
quite a varied role. We're always quite aware to wear one hat at a time, because it's they do have slightly different propositions.
Yeah.
So yeah, and really, I suppose fundamentally as a group, we're there to assist brokers ultimately. Cases that they're struggling to place for whatever reason, whether it be they can't place it, whether it's the client, whether it's the property, or whether they simply don't have the permissions or the experience to deal within that area.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really to work alongside those brokers, and and I always say, if you're not working with Brightstar, you need to be working with a business that does similar to us. It just
You know,
doesn't
it's
make
interesting
sense.
actually. 'Cause I've had Jappy on before, and so we didn't talk about packaging, but I've had packages on it, so it's always interesting to get your take on things because you must hear it a lot, right, with brokers that they're like, why do I need them, or why I understand my deals. I always think it's strange when people come to you with resi stuff. I'll be honest with you, from an outsider, like
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
Yeah, well,
What's the
I
resi
mean,
business? Someone comes to
weirdly,
you with.
it's not just resi. It's residential, it's buy to let, it's
Oh yeah,
second
I get all the
charges.
commercial stuff. I just think it's what's the
Oh, so,
what are they missing on resi?
right. So with us, once again, a lot of people say if you say specialist residential, immediately people think of adverse. With
Yeah,
100%, and it is, that is true. A lot of the time we are dealing with adverse with what's happened in the last couple of years.
yeah,
It's been a testing time, but I think the benefit of that for brokers is that, whereas I think it's fair to say a couple of years ago it's quite a transactional business. It'd be like, I choose that
yeah.
mortgage or I choose this mortgage. Whereas now I think mortgage advisors are, people need mortgage advisors. They need to have that advice. I've got friends who say to me, "Oh, I've spoken to my bank. They're going to give me the best deal possible." Great, yeah, but nowadays you need to be looking everywhere, and that's where a mortgage
Isn't it
advisor comes.
nuts that people still think that? I know we think that because I think we had this conversation before actually that I think things are nuts because I'm surrounded by brokers, I'm surrounded by lenders every day. I think it's mad that people still go, no, my bank manager has my best intentions. Um, it's nuts, isn't it? But then because we're
Well, your
surrounded by
bank,
it,
your
so
bank
if
manager
you don't
can
know,
only
you've got
offer
to
the
know
best
you
that
don't
he's
know.
got, can't
Yeah,
he? He can only offer
yeah,
the
yeah.
best that he's got. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily the best that's in the market,
But
you
the
know.
myth is in like, oh, that's because my savings account with them, I've got the best rate. Do you know what I mean? It's nuts, but I think it's only nuts because it's education part, isn't it? We don't. I know
Yeah,
that because I'm
and,
surrounded
and
by you guys. But
and I think as well, Marcus, with that is, when we get brokers who come to us when they can't place it because we've got products, or lenders that we work with have products that ignore certain defaults. People being an IVA, come out
yeah,
bankruptcy. I think that's the biggest struggle for the industry, is that Mr. Layman will think because they've missed a payment on their phone bill, they can't get a mortgage.
yeah,
Something as simple as that. But they've got to understand that there is understanding out there in the market, and but we get really weird things. And I think one of my favourite stories, I think I said to you when I saw you a few weeks ago, was the human grave story. That I was at an event in February, and a broker who came up to me. She's really experienced. She'd been doing business for over 15 years. She'd never worked with us at all, and she came up to me and said, "Oh, a bit of a strange one. I've got a property that I'm trying to place a product on, which has got a human grave within the grounds." And so she goes, "I've never come across this." She was going to get a bridge out to exhume the body, and then get the mortgage. And so I said, "Look, go into the talk. When you come out, I have an answer for you." And I literally rung the office. I spoke to Steph Healy, who heads up our residential team. I said, "Steph, bit of a weird one, 2 words, human grave." And I kid you not, she said to me, "Is that the one from last week?" Which, so what brokers might think's really weird for them, our guys are seeing like every week or so. And literally, Steph, in the space of 60 seconds, could give me the LTV, what the rate was, and what the lender, who the lender was. And when I spoke to the broker when she came out of the talk 20 minutes later, she was dumbfounded because she'd been on this for weeks, looking at trying to. So I think that's a really good example of you've got to have a level, Marcus, of when is this not going to be profitable for me to keep trying to place it, keep trying to place it.
300 lenders and
when to give us a call.
Good. And how and people don't have to use you all the time as well, right? I feel like I'm plugging you. We don't normally plug on it, but is it that people? But this is really interesting for brokers. Hopefully, it's relevant because I think they think you've got to put loads of business through someone to get a decent deal and that kind of thing. You do one-offs and that as well. Just
yeah, I mean, Marcus, I think that the big fear that people have, I think number one fear is when people think, "Oh, I don't like working with a packager or a master broker," is that they're going to lose their client. But ultimately, the client is always their client. We're working alongside that broker to get the best deal for their client ultimately. So I always say, look, you don't always have to ring us up to kind of like give us business. It might even be that you have actually placed it, but the relationship is good enough that you can ring us up and say, "Look, I've got this in place. I don't think the numbers are that sexy. Can you do better?" And our guys are really like the experience that we've got with all our consultants. We'll turn around and say, "No, do you know what? In this scenario, that's the best you're going to get."
Right,
And as long as that doesn't happen every week and we're being used as a sourcing tool, that's
no, you're right again. Yeah,
we do accept some business come the other way, but that's the relationship we want. No, Marcus, is that literally that 60-minute phone call, 60-second phone calls could save that broker so much time, which is ultimately
save the client money.
And also helps them manage expectations.
Yeah, and talk to me about the commercial side of things as well, because obviously you've got, I see it at the moment, you've got a lot of resi people, especially where the market sort of dropped, and you've got a lot of people looking at kind of short-term lending and dipping their toe in, and not always getting the best outcome because it's a completely different ball game, right? But you've got, at the same time, you've got to educate people, and it's a natural progression into commercial. But how have you seen the market last couple of years with people doing that more, sort of jumping, not wanting to give up those deals?
Yeah, I would say I think ultimately there has been, if you compare numbers, I think last year, first charge mortgages were down 23% or something around that figure. So that gives people a little bit of a financial deficit, whereas the specialist lending side of things, if they can open their minds up to seeing opportunities in other areas. On average, our power way to brokers is just under £1,000 for residential cases. Whereas if you look at commercial and bridging, they're kind of 3,500. So you get one of those in, that's kind of filling up that little hole that you've got. So that's 3.5 residential deals. That but because it's been referred and passed across, you're still moving on with the work that you're doing ultimately. And so residential is getting busy for us again. Second charge is getting busy. Bridging has been, as we spoke about the other week, the last couple of years, it's just, easily been our busiest desk.
Well, it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? If long-term lending goes down, short-term lending goes up, and
and it's the weirdest reasons why people, use a bridge. And we spiked at one stage, when the buy-to-let market was really bad with the rates and stuff. People were doing a buy-to-let on the bridge. just to see how the rates were going for a few months, and then they'd swap over. And
I mean, that's
and it's
nuts.
I think they're very proactive now, Marcus, with bridging. Everyone's being
Yeah.
very proactive rather than just reacting to a chain break or maybe the traditional auction house purchase.
I think that's what it is as well. Obviously, it's natural progression because of chain breaks and the like that. Regulated bridges did go through the roof, but obviously it makes complete sense. Why? Do you think that'll drop back down again? Do you think as the resi market comes back, do you think it will slowly,
Um,
or do you
I,
think people have got to grips with it? I think the benefit. Sorry, I just asked two questions at once, but the benefit is
yeah,
that people now understand it a bit better.
I definitely think it's that, and I also think that people are now understanding that you know people think that, like that it's always been a bridge. Oh, they're very expensive, aren't they? Well, not if they're like the solution that helps you get to where you want to get ultimately.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had people, we've placed cases on bridging where people are looking to downsize. For instance, they've seen their dream house, don't want to lose it, and then they kind of bite on a bridge.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not a free bridge, but in essence, they're only using the equity that's in the house that they haven't seen.
yeah, yeah.
And then you've also got the beauty of moving over a period of weeks rather than that dreaded one day when you're sitting outside the estate agents waiting for the keys at 4 p.m.
The keys and
Thinking what
the
Chinese you're going to have.
van.
But it's true, but I
Um,
think that's where estate agents can really benefit with us. Is
yeah,
that we speak to a lot of brokers, and I always say, do you have many estate agent introducers? And if they
yeah,
do, I say, right, what is their understanding of bridging? Because I feel if they had a really good understanding of bridging, so many more,
yeah.
chain
That's
breaks or
interesting.
so many, kind of purchases would be saved. And
Yeah,
once again, looking on the expense side of that, Marcus, is that people think, right, okay, well, a bridge doesn't that cost money? Well, yes, it does. But if you're 90% down the road to
it's a
buying a
deposit.
house,
Yeah,
if you have a chain break and you're desperate for that house, you might drop the price of your house by 10k.
hmm,
But with a bridge in your back pocket as well, you can also
yeah,
negotiate your buying price. So you can offset the cost of the bridge with a negotiation
yeah,
with
yeah.
the vendor, basically.
That's a good point, Andrew. Do you think that? I mean, obviously we talk about educating brokers on different products and that kind of thing, but I've never really thought about it as much as because estate agents don't sell financial services products, they can't recommend them or anything, but they can become more educated on it, can't they? They can because it's just a natural thing, isn't it? Chain break goes, I can't get the mortgage, bang, next one, they go on to the next one. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
they're not estate agents aren't as well educated, but obviously they're a big part of the buying process.
If they've got a really good relationship with, some of the best brokerages that I work with, Marcus, have got great relationships with estate agents because that's where they get their introductions from. You know,
Yeah,
all the estate agent has to do is have an understanding of how the bridge works, and because I mean, I can speak from a Brightstar perspective. Is without putting our bridging team under too much pressure, is if we get a bridging inquiry, normally we say officially within 24 hours of a working day you'll get indicative figures, but our guys
yeah,
send it over within half an hour,
yeah.
and I think as long as the client has an option, right, okay, I can do this, or
Yeah, it's got to be
I
viable
won't
for
do
them
it.
financially, isn't it? But it's like you said, it's an option.
100%. Yeah, and as
I,
long as they
I, I,
know, as long as they know what it's going to cost, then that's fine.
yeah, it's difficult. Obviously, a lot of chain breaks when you're, first time buying or whatever. You're probably up to the hill, aren't you? But like you say, there's lots of opportunities in other parts of the buying journey, if you like,
Yeah.
like with the downsizing and that kind of thing, where actually it's a viable opportunity and it gives you a bit of leeway, it gives you a bit of leverage.
Yeah, I speak to Joe Power, heads up our bridging team, and I say, Joe, where's your bridging at the moment? Is it regulated? Is it non-reg? And it's pretty much shared. She said there
Yeah.
isn't one area as such in terms of that non-reg and reg.
See,
And
non-reg for me is a no-brainer, right? Because it's a commercial decision. This money cost you X. You couldn't get a house without it. You'll make X at the end. It's not like it's Doris's mortgage. Do you know what I mean? I think there's certainly less attached to it because it's a business decision, isn't it? It's
I
yes,
think
that's
I
going to
think
cost me
that's
10k.
where
It's going to make me 20.
Yeah, that's where a good broker or a good consultant, what we've got at Brightstar will turn around and say, when they speak to the client, okay, what's your exit? Because it's all about the exit on the bridge.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, right, great. Okay, what's your alternative if that exit doesn't work? And that really can stop a deal because if
yeah,
someone hasn't got an alternative exit, you can't have that risk of them
yeah,
failing on that for them. And but then that also gives them a bit of a bit of a reality check. Okay, well, I thought I was just going to get a bridge because I'm going to sell my house. But what if you don't
Yeah,
sell
yeah.
it?
What if you don't? Yeah, yeah.
And it really does make people think. And I think that's where it gets really ethical, Marcus, with it, is that it's very much makes people have an understanding of their financial situation and what happens if X doesn't happen. Can
Yeah.
Y happen?
And that's regulated and unregulated, right? It's just ethical to say
Yeah,
to
yeah,
someone, what happens
yeah,
if, what, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we spoke
So,
the other week, and I said to you, you know, fundamentally, everything has to be driven by what is the best outcome for the client ultimately,
yeah,
because we all do this job to put food on the table. But if you get the right decisions and the right options for your client, the money looks after itself, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
your
That's
business
a result,
grows.
isn't it? It's a result of doing a good job.
Yeah,
You
hundred
don't
percent.
tend, you know, you get the cowboy guys, but they don't hang around that long. You know, it's
No,
just if you're concentrating on doing a good job,
definitely.
then the rest of
Yeah.
it comes in. So talk to me about the other kind of the problems you see with brokers, or the problems that brokers have with packages and that kind of thing. What else are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, I think it's like kind of like I always it makes me smile when if I'm at an event and someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, don't like working with packages. I had a bad experience once." That'd be the same as me saying, "I don't use brokers because I've
Welcome
had a
to
bad
recruitment.
broker."
Everyone says that to us. I won't work with recruiters because I met one knobhead 10 years ago. It might have been me, but there you go. we get it all the time. Like you're all tired from the same brush, right?
Yeah, and it kind of frustrates me, but I do feel sometimes ego has to be taken out of it as well. I think sometimes people feel I don't want to be seen to not be able to do
Not being an
something.
expert.
Yeah, but the 6 areas that we work in, Marcus, it's impossible to be an expert in all 6 areas. So
Yeah.
why not work alongside someone that you can refer across to, and literally say to your client, look, I'm going to pass you over to Brightstar. These are the guys who I use for my specialist bridging. And then that's you being very transparent, being very open. It's not white labeling anything. And it's letting people know. And then I think that gives you strength as a broker, to be honest. And the other, yeah, I suppose the other common one as well I get is, and it always makes you smile, is that I don't like giving half my troc away. Now first and foremost, once again
100%
we
of
spoke
nothing.
about well, we spoke about this the other week, didn't we? It was like, well, do you want 100% of nothing or 50% of
Yeah.
something? But more
Yeah.
importantly, do you want to get the right result for your client? But we also privy to a lot of our lenders. We get enhanced lender commissions. So sometimes by working with us, is that the broker actually earns more, earns the same, or sometimes more than if they just did all the
Yeah.
work themselves. So
Do you think that's an education piece as well? Do you think that people just don't know? Because I mean, I
yeah,
know about enhanced block fees and that kind of thing, but if you did the maths on it and go, well, I mean, the main thing is customer outcome, like you say, but actually,
yeah.
maths wise, if you get a decent deal, you're getting half away and you're getting double prop fee, you're getting the same amount of money.
That's right. So you can refer Brightstar, you can refer across to us in all the areas apart from consumer buy-to-let and residential. So
Yeah,
when someone has to give the advice, and we pretty much, as a rule of thumb, 50-50 pretty much across all the prop
yeah,
fees,
yeah,
is someone said to me, kind of why am I paying you 50% when I'm giving the advice on a residential deal? And my first thoughts to that was, first of all, we've found the right home for the deal because you couldn't,
yeah,
and we're going to do all the packaging side of it at the end, and all you're doing is advice, and you're getting 50%. But on the flip
yeah.
side of that, when we give all the advice on commercial, on bridging, which are the big ticket sales, is that
Still
we're
getting
still giving you
50%.
50%. So
Yeah, yeah,
and I think that's once again it goes back to that first thing, Marcus, of getting the right result for your client. Then the money will look after itself anyway. The money shouldn't be the
yeah.
driving factor here, and we try
I
to
think
be as
also
fair as.
if you're not completely au fait with some of the products that your clients need, and you don't want to go through a package, you're right. I do think there's some big egos. I do think like I want to be seen as an expert and everything. I have to go through you. I don't, and you lose the deal. Someone else is picking that up. And if
Yeah,
they're picking up that bridge, they're picking up their life insurance. If they're picking up their life insurance, they're probably doing their resi mortgage and their mum's mortgage. Do you know what I mean? And their kids' mortgage. There's so much more to losing a deal through ego of not wanting to not look like the expert.
yeah, and also, I mean, I say to my brokers that I speak to, you don't have to be the expert in doing the deal. You need to be the expert in spotting the opportunity. Okay, and there's a big difference on that. And we provide, like a mini fact find document, because people don't want to be looked as stupid. Like if I'm talking to you as a client, Marcus, and also I think, do you know what, this guy might have some commercial, some commercial finance.
Yeah.
Is that I'm not going to talk to you about that if I don't know what to say. But if I've
No,
got
that's
my
uncomfortable, isn't
kind
it?
of
Again, it's the
my
expert
questions in
authority.
front of me, that can lead that through. So so it's really important to kind of just spot those opportunities, because that way I think you look better as a broker. If I'm honest, because you're open to kind of seeing how can I help this client holistically, rather than just on the one thing they've come to me. So
Well,
if
that's the
your
magic of your
business,
brokers, isn't it? I
yeah,
mean, you said it then, it's opportunity, but it's about having a look at someone's whole, it's not just about their mortgage.
yeah.
It's keeping that client in-house all
And,
the
al-
time with everything.
and also as well, Marcus, is like with if you're a business owner or self-employed and you've come to me for residential um, uh, mortgage, why would
Yeah.
I not ask you? Have you got a mortgage on your commercial property?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you do you lease or do you own it? Do
Do you think
you?
people are missing out a lot of that opportunity? Do you think because we don't ask the question? I mean, I miss out on a personal point of view because I assume everyone knows what I do. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll be helping someone fill a business up with BDMs or underwriters, and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't realise you did collections," or whatever it is, or "Oh, didn't realise you did admin because you filled up all our brokers." But it is that's down to me, right? That's my problem because I haven't I haven't let them know enough, or I haven't asked them enough questions to get enough back. Do you think the brokers come across the same thing? We're so channeled in on the thing we're helping them on.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to a little bit of experience. I think once you get paid, once you refer maybe like a commercial case across or a bridge across, and you realise how easy it can be, and then you realise the benefit financially to you when it hasn't taken any time out of your day. Now, as a broker, you've still got complete control by, you're still kept in the loop of everything that's happening. So it's not
Yeah,
like you just part. You can if you want, but you don't just pass it off. You can keep your fingertips on it, learn
yeah,
about
yeah.
it to
I
understand
want to
why.
learn as well. No, I'd want to learn.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? If you're that product, because then it just makes you a little bit smarter next time, doesn't it? And then
yeah.
eventually you are the authority when you're speaking about it.
Yeah, and I mean we do normally. I mean, and the reason why I'm so busy, you talk about assumption, Marcus, is that we're a market leader. Brightstar's been around
Yeah,
for
yeah.
14 years now. It's like and we're up there with the best, if not the best. And it's my dangerous assumption is that everyone knows what we do. But I speak to
Yeah.
people every single week who's never even heard of us, and I find that amazing. That
I
with
think
all
it's
the
nuts. I think it's nuts when people haven't heard of particular lenders because I speak
yeah.
to every lender, so I know everyone, and then they'll go, "I've never heard of them." And I think they're massive. They're top tier, and you've not heard. It's strange, isn't it? But like you say,
and,
you
and,
just assume that
and
everyone
it's
knows what
and
you
it's
know.
crazy. But as you say, you're assuming that people know what you do. We
Yeah,
assume that people know what we do, and
mm.
I think when you kind of do that, and that's not a bad thing. It's just like a natural assumption to
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
But so it doesn't matter how many applications and completions are going through Brightstar this month. My month is as busy this month as it was last month, because I'm
yeah,
always talking to people. I'm always looking after our key accounts, developing, what's going on. And really, what we want to do, Mark, is just to make sure is that the fundamental thing is that like best advice is given, because I
yeah,
think a huge thing that this industry forgets about. We make the assumption that people know what we do. I also think that as a broker, they forget that every deal that they put across changes someone's life.
yeah.
And that's not being dramatic. That's
No,
it
no.
could be someone's first house. It could be someone who's struggling to get a mortgage because of adverse credit. It could be someone from entrepreneurial reasons have managed to buy a warehouse and
Yeah,
expand.
yeah.
Second
I
charges.
honestly don't think
Second
that's too dramatic. I
charges.
tell people every day we're changing lives. I don't think it.
Yeah,
I think buying property, like same as finding a job, the most important thing. The only thing we can't help people with is finding their spouse. Is the other important thing that they choose in their life. But everything else is life changing decisions, isn't it? So,
but we
hundred
but we
percent, I
can we can
buy
help
into
we can help we can help buying the spouse out if they ever divorce.
that. Yeah, if it doesn't work out, well, we can help. We can't help the front end.
Yeah,
But
but it's
genuinely,
true. It's true though,
I
isn't
think
it?
we don't. I think as an industry, we probably take for granted how important what we do for people is. For both,
Yeah.
people broking, resi, whatever it is, real estate. We're a big part of people's lives, or changing
You
lives.
look at a second charge, for instance, Marcus. Sadly, we are still seeing a lot of debt con. Debt con and home improvements, the two big things, as always has been. But when you think someone's kind of struggling to keep their head above water, each month kind of right. Well, I'll pay this bill, but I won't pay that bill. And it's and that's hard.
Yeah.
People don't sleep properly. Like you talk about mental health and all that sort of stuff.
They've got recruitment companies, have they?
Sorry.
I said they've got recruitment companies, have they?
But once that debt gets taken away to a manageable level, that's
Yeah.
the first night they sleep properly. For maybe a couple of years, and I
Yeah.
think that is where the change, the change of mindset needs to happen. Is that, you know what? Let's get this across the line because I'm changing someone's life. It ain't just the
Yeah.
money at the end.
Yeah, and I think that takes it again. And I do think the market is changing, like we said before, about just being transactional to actually understanding that we're a big part of people's lives. I do think that changes. I do think people understand that now. It's not a quick buck, It's actually it's a
And the other, sorry to interrupt, Mark, the other thing I get as well, which always makes me smile, when I speak to a broker and he goes, and they say, I only do vanilla stuff, right? And I kind of, it's a phrase that really straight away
They're
catches
definitely
me.
not asking the question. 'Cause-
And it's like, well, the thing is, I say, okay, you might be only be doing vanilla mortgages at the moment, but is your vanilla different now to what it was 2 years ago? Are you using lenders now that you wasn't using 2 years ago? And all of a sudden it stops them and they think, yeah, no, you're right, actually, I don't just do vanilla. There's a reason why the high street banks are edging into specialist lending as well.
yeah. And there are very few vanilla cases now, just by the way we're paid and the way we structure stuff, and the nature of the nature of business. Vanilla is just hard to come by. Well,
And,
my
and
license
oh, I speak to brokers, and when I say to them, kind of about cases that just easy to do, like
Yeah.
they're few and far between, and they jump up and click their heels if ever someone comes in with an easy case.
Yeah. That's a 50% loan to value at Santander. Great, cool. Both
Yeah,
working, both employed. Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's just not realistic anymore. Yeah, it's So talk to me about the. I know you said you do 6 products there. Again, I'm not pitching you as such, but talk to me about the kind of the things that brokers need to think about, the different products that they need to think about if they are going to speak to you.
Yeah, I suppose we touched on that, like, especially on the commercial side of things. Now, because it can be referred across to us on commercial. Commercial's a slow burner, as we know. I always say, once you pass it across, it's our candle getting burnt on that. It's our guys who are doing the diligence on it. But I do think, those key questions, the first one, kind of, come to me with a residential mortgage, but you're a business owner, self-employed or MD level, like decision making level, do you own or lease your own premises? And the other one as well, I really like the nationwide adverts at the moment about the banks disappearing.
About the banker,
I think it's a very funny campaign. How true it is, I know they've got in trouble a little bit, but it's really good. But we talk about, we say to people, look, ask your client, when's the last time they had a business review? Because people have lost the ability to see someone face to face. Because the banks aren't there anymore. Literally in Billericay, where I used to live, my business account was with Lloyds. We had a Lloyds, Barclays, HSBC and Santander. They've all gone apart from Santander. So I wouldn't be able to see my business manager anymore. So they're the sort of things. So, where if you work with someone like, say, Brightstar, we can do a commercial review for anything going in and out, which is going to benefit that broker and that client, because they've come to you for a residential mortgage, but the fact is you could probably be quite beneficial to deal with the commercial side of it, although you're not the expert. Buy to let, as you know, is still tricky.
Let's say how you finding the market now, because it's hopefully we bottomed out and it feels like it's coming back. Are you getting that? Otherwise, are you getting that?
And I think the lenders are more confident to actually put a product out there where they know they're not going to get swamped. It's very understandable. Maybe 18 months ago, lenders were probably a bit nervous, because if they put a really good product out there on buy to let, they would have got swamped.
Yeah.
And so I think there is that kind of things hold back a little bit. Whereas now we're seeing different products coming out all the time, which is great. And also because of time, people need to look at their buy-to-let mortgage, need to refinance. And I don't think it's the easiest industry still to get into as a newbie
Yeah.
as such because of some of the restraints. But we are seeing a lot of refinancing. We deal with a lot of stuff that High Street don't like, so like portfolio landlords. And once again, I think the benefit of working with not just Brightstar but someone like us is if you've got a big portfolio of 45 property, you've got a client that's got 45 properties on portfolio and it all needs to be refinanced, that takes a hell of a lot of time. Now, Mr. Broker or Mrs. Broker can do that portfolio, but that's to the detriment of dealing with all the other stuff that they've got. And that's where bringing someone to work alongside them to actually put that in. So that's where we're seeing a little bit of success at the moment. Second charges, I say, unfortunately, it is still a lot of debt.
Coming back, do you think, seeing some new products coming back out for second charge, I think that's making a bit of a comeback?
Yeah, I'm ever the optimist, Marcus. So, I see the
Everything's
media
making a comeback.
Yeah, well, I see the media scaremongering, and I think maybe that's because I work across 6 areas, not just focusing on the one. So, and I think that's probably just a natural way. If you are working across 6 areas, you're seeing the good in the bits that are good, and not seeing the bad so much in the bad bits. But what we're seeing with everything, I think there is a confidence when I speak to lenders, no matter if it be second charges, residential, buy-to-let, commercial. There is a confidence coming back within the market. I know everyone's been holding their breath with the budget, but ultimately, whenever was buying a house a 2 minute jobby, it wasn't. It's 20 years, 25 years. Things will change, and I think people just need to have the confidence that things aren't going to shoot all the way up and they're not going to crash all the way down. And I think we are getting to that new normality of
consistency, isn't it? We talked about this before, but if money doesn't have to be cheap, it just has to be stable, doesn't it? For the market to be confident and go, okay, I know what it cost me now. Probably going to cost me very similar to that in 2 years, as opposed to, God, who knows what's going to happen?
I think that was the big problem. That was the big problem, wasn't it? It was people were just scared to commit.
No one could give any advice because they'd never done either. It was just it's a weird time. And we've had that for 4 years now.
Yeah. But
I'm looking forward to 2025, 26 when we get this normal, no world wars.
When we spoke the other week, Marcus, you mentioned it. Well, you can either afford the mortgage or not. And as you say, if it's not going to jump up, roughly you can be okay. And I've got a friend who's, recently, divorced, but out the money he's got from the house. He's literally hasn't waited. He wanted bricks and mortar, so he goes, well, I can afford this mortgage with this deposit. That's what I'm doing, and he's as happy as Larry. Do you know what I mean? The fact that he's got now bricks and mortar under his belt, it's great.
Yeah, good. So, how do people get hold of you if they want to speak to you? What's the best way of getting hold of people? Obviously, for you and your team there at Brightstar, what's the best way to? If there are any brokers out there, just
I would say, Marcus, is literally if you're new to Brightstar, kind of give me a call, and then I can give an overview of how we work and looking at like the Soulstar Insurance, Sirius, all those things. I can speak to everyone about all that, and then what we really want from there, then, Marcus, will be once you've dealt with me and then I introduce you to one of our consultants on a certain area, you don't have to speak to me, you can go directly to them, so it becomes a seamless kind of event, really. So so contact me kind of on mobile or obviously LinkedIn. I've got the weird spelling.
All your socials will be on our socials when this goes out as well.
So literally just message me through that. And then I can, kind of do a Teams or face-to-face meeting. And I just feel, I hate the phrase no-brainer, but I feel it's a no-brainer to not work alongside a master broker, specialist distributor or packager if you're not already doing so. Because, you don't want to be the broker I spoke to the other week when we were having a chat and I talked to him about commercial. So what do you do with your commercial? Any commercial inquiries you get? He said, I'll give that to a mate of mine, and he gives me a couple of bottles of wine at Christmas. And I'm thinking, You do know you're probably losing out on
I bet it'd be 40
thousands of
grand worth
pounds.
of wine.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know, might be black towel or blue nun, but maybe I'm showing my age there. But yeah, but that's the sort of thing, because I also think it's not so much about the value of what you're getting back from them, is that you may pass that on to like your best mate who's a broker, and you trust, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
But that client may enjoy working with them more than they work with you. So
Yeah.
you
You
may
don't own the
lose that
client, do you?
client.
At the end of the day, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, and
If you give
I
it to someone
always,
else.
sorry, right, as I just say, look, if you've got to ring your client up to say I can't help you, it's worth giving me a call, because
Yeah.
if you as a broker with your experience can't place it, and us with all our experience can't place it, you're on a kind of steady footing that you're not
It
going to
can't be
say
helped.
to your client, oh, I can't help you, but then they go get it somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
it's
worth
yeah,
a chat, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Good. Good stuff. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate your time today. And thank you, everyone, listening on, what are they listening on? Spotify, watching on YouTube. And yeah, I appreciate your time, mate. And I will catch up with you soon.
No, I really appreciate it, Marcus. Thank you very much.
No problem. Cheers, Andrew.
Take care.